Hi, this is Danny with Titan Technologies, and in this video we're going to be going over how to install your Lynx Touch 5100. When you receive your Lynx, it's going to be prepared for you to install it. When you do your order, what you need to keep in mind are there are different formats that you can communicate your alarm over. This panel will do a Wi-Fi, it'll do a wired Ethernet to your internet, a GSM communicator which uses the cell towers, and AlarmNet uses the AT&T network, so you need to make sure you have service on the AT&T network at your home if you're going to use a GSM. And the fourth one is a traditional POTS phone line. For this example of the install, I've got this one set up for the Wi-Fi communicator. When you receive your unit, all of that's going to be in there. We're going to have it pre-programmed, so it's going to be ready to go. When you get your unit, just have some normal hand tools from around the house. What you're going to do is on the top of the unit, you can take a screwdriver and just push these tabs down and the unit's going to pop open. When you open up your unit, I'm already going to have the backup battery installed for you. The Wi-Fi module is going to be in there as well. Alright, in this example there's two ways you can mount it. We can actually mount it to the wall like a traditional keypad, or we can use a desktop mount where it snaps into a mount and sits on your desk. I've got one of the mounts to show you. For the desktop, it's going to be on a mount like this. So when you mount your unit to it, you can sit it up on top of the counter, any table. All you have to do is plug in a transformer that will come with that unit, and it'll be just a matter of plugging it into the back of the unit and you'll be ready to go. Now with the mounting on a wall, there's going to be a little bit more to it. I'm going to have all the parts included inside. I'm going to send you the wire, the anchors, everything you're going to need to do it. For this example, we're going to just use this wall right here. When you're choosing a wall, you want to keep a couple things in mind. The easiest wall to do it on is going to be a hollow wall. That way when you're dropping your wire inside the wall so you don't have wires hanging down your wall, you can easily get to that outlet. There's a couple ways you can tell. You can open up the outlet, check in beside it to see if there's insulation. You can tell this wall, when I hit it, you can hear it's hollow. Okay, so what we're going to do to start is I'm going to mark up my holes for the unit. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little small level and I'm going to put this up on the unit above this outlet. Now, you want to make sure that you're lined up on the side of the outlet, so when you put a hole in the center of here, where my finger's pointing through right now, you're going to drop your wire through there down to that outlet. So you want to make sure it's lined up with the center of that outlet so that wire will drop down on top of there. So I'm going to line this up on the wall where I want it. Usually we mount these at about 5 feet, but you can mount it whatever height that you prefer. And I'm going to stick my level on top of there, level it up, and I'm going to mark all my holes. And I'll show you in just a second what I used, what I marked. Okay, on that panel, you can see these holes. I marked 4 holes and then my center hole for my power wire. Okay, now I'm going to come back, and what I like to do, there's several ways of doing it, but I take my little small Phillips screwdriver and go in the top of that hole and just twist it and push in. This is just marking the holes to get them ready. You can probably tell as I'm pushing in the difference in that side and this side. There we go. You may hit a stud on one side because you got to remember you've got a stud running with that outlet. If you hit the stud, that's fine. You won't need an anchor. You can put the screw straight in. On this, on all of them, we hit hollow wall. Included in the package, I'm going to put anchors in there for you. I prefer using these little anchors. When you poke a hole, you screw them right in and your screw goes into it. They're really good anchors and they hold real well. Now I'm just going to push these in and screw them in with a Phillips head screwdriver. Okay, now I've got all my anchors ready. I'm going to come back and cut the hole for my power wire. Whatever you want to use to cut drywall. This is a drywall knife. It's probably the easiest thing to use. I'm just going to poke the hole through there. I'm just going to wiggle it in. And I'm going to cut out the box that I drew from the panel. Okay, now I've got that prepared. We're going to go down and we're going to take the cover off of the outlet. Just going to sit that down so we can put it back on. Now when you're looking at the outlet, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I can see right beside this outlet where the sheetrock's cut out that my stud is right there on that side. So when we drop this wire down, it's going to come down in the center of this box. And what we want to do is we want to get this wire to come out right below this cover plate. What I like to do is take my pencil, sit the cover back on there, and draw just a little small mark underneath. So now you know where the bottom of that cover plate is at. We need to come out right below that. So what I'll do is go back to my drywall knife, and I'm going to come just off of the corner of this. You don't want to cut out around where the outlet is. You want to come to the side of that, and I'm just going to cut a line that goes just a little bit below where that pencil mark is at. Okay, and then once I get that, I'm going to come back to the other side and I'm going to cut a line right beside that, and what I'm doing is just making a gap for that wire to come to. So now I've got just a little line that comes down. It's not affecting the tabs on my outlet, so the outlet stays nice and secure. When we put this plate back on, our transformer is going to cover that. So now we're going to come back to the panel, and I'm going to put a piece of wire in there for you. I've got this one cut about the length I need. I'm going to actually put about 10 feet in the box in case you need a little extra, you have it. When I drop my wire in there, what I like to do is make a little loop in the top. Because the last thing you want to do is drop the wire in there and the whole thing go in the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this wire and I'm going to drop it down in that hole. And this is where it's real important to have your hollow wall. And I'm just going to let that wire drop in there. We're just going to let it hang right there. I'm also going to put a piece of this in the kit for you. This is just simply a piece of 12 ground wire, just like they use in electrical wire. Just make a little hook. You can make them out of coat hanger, anything along those lines. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to fish this wire out. Now if we did this correctly, we should have to fish around just a little bit to find that wire. And if you're not finding it, it may be on top of that box. You can come back up here to this wire and you can wiggle it just to make sure it's down. This is the part that's probably going to take you the longest. This is where it pays to have a little bit of luck. And you can see I just got lucky because my wire popped out of the hole. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out down here. And I'm just going to tie another loop in it because there again, I don't want it popping out. And we're not going to hook the transformer up until the very end. Okay, so now if I pull up on that wire, it's not going to suck it back in the wall. All right, now we're going to come back and go ahead and mount our panel up. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that power wire and just put it through that hole where we marked it out. So when we mount our wire to, or our panel to the wall, that wire's not pinched behind there. I'm just going to stick it through the hole right there. And I'm going to have these screws for you in your kit when you order it. I'm going to take my Phillips screwdriver. I'm just going to line up with anchors. Now when you put these screws in, I like to get them where they're almost tight, but put all four in. And then I go back and put my level on it again and level it up. There's a little bit of adjustment in here, so if your holes get a little bit off when you're putting your anchors in and punching the holes for them, you can still move it around a little bit so you can get it where it's nice and level, especially if it's going to be in an area where you're walking into your house. Just think it looks a lot better when it's nice and level. Okay, I've got all this started in there. Set my level back across it, and it looks real good. So we're going to go ahead and tighten one down, make sure that it's still there. Then go ahead and finish tightening them all down. All right, now the panel is up and mounted. Now we're going to take this power wire, and I've got just any type of pair of strippers. This is just a little small pair of wire strippers. I'm going to cut this off so I can show you from scratch. The wire's going to look like that. This is an 18-2 conductor. There's only 2 wires in there. Okay, so it's going to be pretty simple to hook up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to come and strip this coating off of this wire to expose the wires inside. And when you do that, there are 2 wires inside. You've got a red wire and a black wire. That's going to be positive and negative. Red's positive, black's negative. What I'm going to do is strip the tip of these down. If you look on the panel, the furthest to the right as it's hanging when you're looking at it, it says positive 9 volts DC. Right beside it, it says ground. That's where your connections are going to be made. When you look at it, you can tell how deep this is. You don't want to strip your wire any deeper than that. So I'm just going to take right at 1/4 of an inch off of the tip of these to expose the copper inside. Okay, once I have that, I'm going to take my little flathead screwdriver or little Phillips, either one will work. And I'm going to put the black in the ground and snug it down. You don't want to overbear it. You just want to get it where it's nice and snug where the wire won't come out of there. And you can pull on it to make sure. I'm going to put the red wire in the positive 9 VDC is exactly what it says on there. It's 9 volts DC. Same thing, tighten it down, make sure it's secure. All right, with this extra wire, I'm just going to feed it back into the wall. And your lead for your backup battery, it doesn't come installed. I'm going to have it installed for you. Plugs in. There's terminals right here on the top of the board, right beside the power terminals, and it's real obvious which one it plugs into. It'll only go into one. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in. All right. When you close this up, just make sure you can take that. What I like to do is take my battery wire, the excess, and shove it in the hole in the wall with the power wire that's going to the transformer. It's just a nice place to keep it hid. All right, when you close that up, it just snaps shut. Now we're going to go down here and finish our transformer. Your transformer is going to look like this. All right, what you're going to do, when you look at the transformer, it's marked positive and negative. Remember we just put the wires in there, red and black. Red's positive, black's negative. So let's come back down here, and we're going to do the same thing with this wire that we did up there. I'm going to snip this off so I can start from scratch with it as well. I'm going to strip that coating off of there. And on this one, you can trim off just a little bit more on the transformer. I'm going to strip that down to where the bare copper is showing. And when I put these in the transformer, I'll take, and on the tips of it, I will bend the copper over, just on the tip of it. So on the very tip, it's rounded. And then on your transformer, red's positive. There's a little tab on there. You're going to slide it under that little metal piece that's underneath the screw. You may have to loosen it up a little bit. Once you get it under there, we're going to tighten that terminal down. Do the same thing with the negative side. Tighten it down. When you get these on there, you want to make sure they're nice and snug where the wires aren't falling out of there. You don't want to bear down on the screws real hard, but you want to make sure they're snug. So we're good there. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to put this plate back on. Now this transformer comes with a screw already in it. Okay, so we're going to feed that wire back into the wall. It's always good to have a little extra. Put this plate back over it, and you're going to push that wire into the wall. So you can see my hole's just sticking out barely below that outlet. And then you're going to plug it in and tighten that screw down. That screw is going to keep it in there secured so nobody can come along and just pop it out. Even though you do have a backup battery, you want to keep it nice and tight because you don't want that one unplugged. The screw that was in your plate, this is, you can throw it in your toolbox, do whatever you want. My personal opinion, I like to put it right here on top of it. If you ever have to move it or you take it with you, when you pull that screw out, you're going to need to put another screw back in that plate to secure it. Because you can see this is a fairly easy system to take with you no matter where you go. Alright, right now the system's powering up. It'll run for just about a minute. It'll power up and everything will get ready. And then in other videos we're going to show you and send you the documentation how to log on to your network, and then you can test the system. But for the install, you can see obviously doing it on a desktop is a little bit quicker and easier, but if you do it like this, you can see the install is real clean. There's no wires hanging anywhere. You look at the transformer, there's no wires hanging out. It looks nice and professional, and as you can see, it didn't take long to do it at all.